like you mentioned, the Eagles lost to the Cowboys. Dallas is playing pretty well, right? The offense is certainly clicking. Like I don't think Dak is a top 10 guy, top 12 for sure. There's some flaws with the team, but the whole idea of like they're going to get to the playoffs, they're going to make some noise. They're certainly a top 3 team in the NFC, right? I can't deny any of that. But all I'm hearing right now, right after this game, after this Eagles game, is, oh my God, Jalen Hurts is undoubtedly the MVP. It's not even close anymore. That game showed you exactly why. Look at how bad Gardner was. Jalen would have won that game. Look how much better Jalen would have been. If you've watched the show long enough, you dig in. You kind of know what's coming, right? This is going to be a classic rant where I completely disprove everything that Twitter media is saying, right? About Jalen Hurts, all this, that, There's more to the story than just stats, but I also watched the entire game, so the eye test and the stats, they kind of line up here. Let's take a look. The Eagles average about 23.5 first downs per game. That's weird, because Saturday they had 25 first downs. Okay, so Jalen averages 250 yards through the air. Gardner had 355. And before you say, but Tim, Jalen runs the football too. Jalen averages about 55 yards a game running. So not even over what Gardner threw for. Jalen's total wouldn't even be close. The team averages 6 yards per play. That's weird because Saturday they averaged 6.5. Well, maybe he sucked on third down. That must be it. He couldn't convert. That's a pressure down. That's what separates a lot of backups from starters. Nope, the team averages 48%. Yeah, they converted 57% on Saturday. Didn't even get sacked. Now I know he had the 2 picks. One of them was a spectacular defensive play where they took it out of his receiver's hands. It was a good ball that the defender took out of the receiver's hands. And I want to say the other one was tipped. Right now, don't get me wrong. I would take Jalen all day long. But you can't tell me that Gardner didn't command the offense well. Put up 27 points on one of the best defenses in the game. It's Micah Parsons. Right? Again, I would take Jalen all day over Gardner. I think the athleticism, the leadership, I think that's special. And I don't think Gardner is exceptional in anything. I think he's good at a lot of things. I don't think he's special at anything. I think Jalen is special with his athleticism and his leadership. But if you held a gun to my head and told me that once Jalen wants paid, because that's kind of how this goes, right? That's kind of how this goes. Second or third year quarterback breaks out. By year 4 maximum, you're paying them, right? That's kind of how it goes. Even if they're Kirk Cousins level, you still get paid after about 4 or 5 years. So if you held a gun to my head and said Jalen's price tag, $45 million, right? That's probably about what it'll end up being depending on when he gets paid. Probably even more. That's probably on the low end. And you told me that Gardner's is 18, that's a tough decision to make. Right? That's one where I would lose sleep over it. Gardner for 18 or Jalen for almost 50? I mean, everyone wants to use that game as like a crowning moment for Jalen Hurts as the MVP of the league. Take Patrick Mahomes and sprain his throwing shoulder and then send Chad Henne into Dallas. And let me know how it goes. Seriously, the Chiefs wouldn't even compete. They'd get waxed. It would not be particularly close. Like, don't outthink the room here. Look, Jalen is very talented. I'd love to have him as my quarterback. If you told me tomorrow I could trade Kenny Pickett for Jalen Hurts straight up, I'd probably do it. But to say that his value is obvious from that game, to say that game shows that he's the MVP of the league, that is absolutely nonsense. There's no factual basis behind that whatsoever. Gardner played just as well, if not better. Okay, they lost by 1 score on the road to a really good football team. That's what happens in the NFL. That's what happens. Remember when the Chiefs went on the road and lost to the Colts? Well, look at the Colts now. They suck, right? That's what happens in the NFL. You go on the road. That's a tough game. You lose by 1 score, put up 34, right? That's a good football game from the Eagles, and that is not an indictment on Gardner Minshew, and that is not a crowning moment for Jalen Hurts. That's not what that game was. That was a very good football game between 2 very good teams. They might meet again in the playoffs, and that is what it is. If you think that Jalen is the MVP of the league over Patrick Mahomes because of this game, you are out of your mind. You're out of your mind. It's not even close. It's Mahomes' award, period.
The thing is with the MVP, and the thing that kind of, it boils my blood, when a team will play, exceptionally well, and then people want to turn around and point and say, they are the clear-cut MVP. I've seen enough from one game. as opposed to a whole season body of work in which it should be judged off of. Sure, Jalen has been really good all year, but I don't think he's been playing like the best of the league at the MVP level all season.
I think it's Mahomes. They rebuilt his entire offensive line last offseason, ship off his
all of his
best
weapons.
receiver,
Yeah.
couple of his best receivers. He's got an all-new receiving core, new offensive line, and look at him.
Somebody in Juju who's still kind of proving it in Kansas City.
I mean, look at that team. They didn't even skip a beat. Mahomes is going to finish with one of his best statistical years. And here's what's impressive about it, is how he's been able to alter his game. He went from over the top, big plays, big arm, wild. Against Houston, I don't even think he had a pass over 20 yards. He's become one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the league overnight.
He's reading defenses so much better. He's making the smarter throws. It all looks fantastic in Kansas City.
And I'm not trying to take anything away from Jalen, but it's when people are saying that, you scroll on Twitter right after that game, and everyone's like, if you don't believe Jalen Hurts is the MVP of the league after this, I don't know what to tell you. I'm like, I know what to tell you. Look at the stats. Look at the numbers. Look at the numbers. They're the same team with Gardner Minshew and Jalen Hurts. Is Gardner Minshew the MVP of the league? Hell no.
But he's a good quarterback.
Great
Damn
backup.
good quarterback.
Great backup.
Yeah.
Probably even more like a low-end starter, I think. I think he'd be a really nice bridge.
Yeah, I think
he'd
so
be
too.
a really nice bridge
I think
quarterback.
I would definitely rank him above like a Teddy Bridgewater, any sort
100%.
of like
Andy
bridge quarterback
Dalton,
in that.
Mitch Trubisky.
Mitch, yeah. Yeah. It's not even a question.
Whatever. All right, well, actually, let's get into